Hello, everyone. Hi, Bulldogs. How are you doing? I definitely hope you have been learning a lot of great information in this 2021 Financial Literacy Week. I have been learning from great workshops that we have and the amazing speakers that have been giving us all these amazing, very helpful, but also super useful information. So today is also completely not different. We are going to be going ahead with our workshop. Today, we do have an amazing brand called CCCSMD. They have been around since 1966, so get ready for some great information. It is also a nonprofit agency, and what they definitely do is to put people at the forefront, just like you, in their journey to financial freedom. So, this is an organization that helps people like you and I, but they're also their funding helps the community, civic organizations, creditors, and businesses. They do not lend money or settle debts. They are also not a collection agency. Services are available nationwide, online, and by a phone number. The presenter today will also be sharing with you more information on how to reach them. But this is a great organization, and they have partnered with us today for our workshop, really, that's going to talk about your income, your expense. And if you came here from the financial literacy page, we're also going to talk about credit management. I always need to learn about credit, and I'm sure you would love to learn about credit. So please, without taking any more of your time, and remember to do the survey after this workshop in order to be enrolled for your raffle. But without taking too much of your time, we will be going straight into our workshop today, and we have an amazing presenter called Miss Christina. And get ready to take notes, listen, because you never know when you would need all this amazing information. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Christina Pollock, and I am the counseling team lead at CCCSMD. I would like to thank you on behalf of CCCSMD for allowing me to speak to you today. For those of you who do not already know, CCCSMD stands for Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Maryland and Delaware. We are a nonprofit, HUD-approved housing and credit counseling agency, and we have been providing services to individuals and communities since 1966. We are a member of the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, with all of our financial advocates certified through NFCC, and several, including myself, who also hold a HUD counselor certification. Our mission is to help stabilize communities by creating hope and promoting economic self-sufficiency to individuals and families through financial education and counseling. Our mindset is that the more self-sufficient you are economically, the more opportunities you will be able to take advantage of, and the more overall control you will have over your life. At CCCSMD, we are passionate about empowering you through financial advocacy by giving attention to your individual needs and goals, and to help set you up to make the right financial decisions now and in the future. Today, I'm going to focus on goals, spending plans, credit, and debt. And by the end of my presentation, you'll have gained knowledge about why all of these are important. In more detail, the subject of this presentation includes a discussion on financial goals, long-term goals and short-term goals, the impact of creating a spending plan, wants versus needs, fixed and variable expenses, what is credit, and the importance of savings. The first item on our agenda is goals. The biggest benefit of setting goals is that thinking ahead leads to success. So why set goals? Well, goals are going to provide you with focus, direction, and motivation. It is also important that the goals you set are SMART goals. And next, we're going to be spending a little bit of time going over what a SMART goal is. So by SMART, we mean S standing for specific. This means to think about exactly what you want to accomplish: who, what, where, when, and why. The M stands for measurable. You want to quantify your goal so you can set milestones and track your progress towards them. The A stands for attainable. Your goals should be realistic and within reach. R stands for realistic. There should be a real benefit to reaching your goal. Take note of why does this goal matter to you. And finally, the T stands for timely. You must establish a deadline for reaching your goal. This ties back to being measurable. The different types of goals we want to set are short-term goals and long-term goals. Short-term goals are goals that you're going to accomplish within the next 12 months. An example would be achieving straight A's this semester or finding a part-time job within 3 months. Long-term goals are goals you will accomplish in the future and will take more than 12 months, but they are good to set now so that you have a destination to work towards. Examples of long-term goals include take a dream vacation in 5 years or save for a down payment on a new car. Think about your short-term and long-term goals. Write them down in a place where you can see them every day, which will encourage you to work towards achieving them. Now that we've talked about our goals, one of the best ways to start working towards some of those financial goals is to create a spending plan. So next, we're going to be discussing what a spending plan is, why it is important, the difference between wants versus needs, types of expenses, and the importance of savings. An excellent choice for your very first short-term goal would be to build a spending plan. What is a spending plan? Well, a spending plan is a way to distribute your income among the various things that you want and need. A spending plan is important because created ahead of time, it will allow you to determine where to best spend your money and plan for unplanned events. The main actions to create your spending plan are to first identify your expenses, then track your expenses, and finally adjust your expenses. So what this means really is you make a list of all the expenses you believe you will have for a month. Then, as you progress through the month, keep track of what you do spend. At the end of the month, you will have enough information to adjust your spending plan to fit your true expenses. This method is extremely helpful when determining how much money you have to spend on your wants versus your needs. The sample budget picture that you see is an example of what your spending plan might look like and items you will want to track. I've actually been using a system like this for years, and every month I create my list of anticipated expenses for the month. Some of them are the same each month, so those amounts just carry over. And then I typically estimate the amount of what the rest of the expenses will be. However, once I receive the bills, I do add the actual amount. I also like to keep track of the due dates as well. And once the bills are paid, I also take note of the amount that I paid. And I also have a section at the bottom of my chart where I list all of my pay dates for the month, as well as the amount that I anticipate receiving. And this greatly helps me determine when each bill will be paid. And before I used the system, I was pretty awful at paying my bills. It wasn't always because I did not have the money to pay them. It was because I would forget that the bills were due. So there's several apps that you can put on your phone to also help you with your spending plan and remind you when certain bills are due. But for me, this tracking system works because I have specific days of the month that I have dedicated time to track my expenses. However you go about it, the key is to be diligent in creating your spending plan and tracking your expenses. Remember that a spending plan requires balance, and it is important to recognize the difference between your wants and your needs when you're creating your spending plan. Your wants are things that would be nice to have, such as a night out at the movies or a new video game. But your needs are things that you must have, like food and transportation expenses and books for your class. When it comes to adding your needs to your spending plan, it is helpful to understand the difference between fixed and variable expenses. Fixed expenses are the same amount every time. They are predictable amounts such as a car payment or rent. Variable expenses fluctuate, so you want to use the average amount when you're planning for these. Variable expenses can include things like a utility bill or groceries. One thing that you always want to make room for in your spending plan is savings. Establishing a solid savings now will help you achieve your financial goals, plan for emergencies, pay down any debt that you have more quickly, and help you plan for your future. When thinking about savings, it's also important to take time to consider your student loans. So you want to understand your loans, prepare for repayment, and use any resources available. During the deferment period after graduation, this is a good time to start determining your payment plan and adjust your spending plan to allow for repayment. And remember that the refund money that you may receive is not free money. This will be part of your total loan to be repaid. So rather than spending the money, consider saving it and using it to pay down your interest. And always remember to ask for advice and use the resources available to plan ahead. Next, we're going to review credit. What is credit? What does it impact? Good versus bad credit, how to establish credit, and pitfalls to avoid. So credit is the ability to borrow money, access products or services with the understanding that you will pay it later. Credit impacts almost everything. So credit can impact things like housing, utility services and deposits, auto purchases, insurances, unsecured credit, such as the ability to obtain a credit card, and it can even impact employment, as some employers believe that individuals with better credit scores make better employees. If you're wondering what your actual credit report looks like, you can go to annualcreditreport.com to obtain a free copy of your credit report from all 3 reporting agencies once per year. The reporting agencies are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So when trying to understand what your credit score means, it's important to know the difference between good credit versus bad credit. A score that is below 579 is considered poor. This means that your score is well below the average score of US consumers and demonstrates to lenders that you are a risky borrower. If your score is between 580 and 660, it is considered fair. This means that your score is below the average score of US consumers, though some lenders will approve loans with this score. A score between 670 and 739 is considered good. This means your score is near or slightly above average of US consumers, and most lenders will consider this a good score. A score between 740 and 799 will be considered very good, and this indicates your score is above the average of US consumers and demonstrates to lenders that you are a very dependable borrower. Finally, if your score is 800 or above, congratulations. Your score is considered exceptional. This score is well above the average score of US consumers and clearly demonstrates to lenders that you are an exceptional borrower. This score will help you obtain the lowest interest rates on the loans that you may want to apply for in the future. There are 5 categories your credit score is judged on. The biggest thing your score is calculated by is your payment history. This accounts for 35% of your score and is determined by whether or not you have paid your past credit accounts on time. Remember that even one late payment to a creditor can seriously impact your credit score. The second biggest thing, making up 30% of your score, is the amounts owed. This is considered by looking at all of the debt that you have, as well as how much credit you have available. An important factor in this section is your credit utilization rate, which is determined by how much credit you have as opposed to how much you are using. So for instance, let's say you have a credit card with a $1,000 limit. If you've used up $999 of that, you have a very high credit utilization rate, and this will negatively impact your credit score. Now, if you only have a $50 balance on that card, that is considered a low utilization rate, and it will positively impact your credit score. So although it is good to establish credit, you want to be sure you don't overuse it. You want to try to keep your credit card balances below 25% of the limit to ensure good credit utilization. The next biggest thing your score is judged on is the length of your credit history. And this simply means that the longer you keep your accounts open and in good standing, the more positively that will impact your credit score. This accounts for 15% of your credit score, which may not seem like much, but when you're chasing that 800 plus score, that good lengthy history really helps out, which is why it is so important to start building good credit now. 10% of your score is determined by the types of credit that is used. So this is the mixture of credit cards, retail credit, student loans, car loans, and mortgages. Lenders like to see that you have a healthy mixture of different types of credit. Finally, the last 10% is determined by new credit. How much of your available credit is new? Anytime you take on new credit, your score will be impacted. Creditors will do a hard inquiry to determine your score and your history. This hard inquiry will decrease your score by 3 points and stay on your report for 2 years. If you're shopping for the best interest rate on something like a car loan or a mortgage, it is okay to apply with multiple lenders as long as you do so for the same reason within the same 30-day period of time. It can only be counted against your score once in this case. Now, this does not work the same with credit cards. So although it's good to establish credit, you certainly do not want to go out and apply for 10 credit cards today. That will cause a decrease to your credit score, and it will also put an alert on your credit report stating that you have had too many inquiries in the past 12 months, which often looks very suspicious to potential lenders. So here are some safe ways that you can start to build good credit. First, you can establish banking relationships. Oftentimes, if you have a good relationship with a bank or a credit union, they will be more likely to work with you in helping you acquire a credit card or a loan through them in the future. You also want to stay consistent. Remember, on-time payment history is the #1 thing that affects your credit score. You can apply for a secured credit card. So a secured credit card is a great way to begin establishing credit history. Oftentimes, this does require a deposit, but you can also look into programs such as self-lender, which helps individuals establish credit by utilizing a forced savings account, which will report on your credit report each month as if you have a loan that you're making on-time payments to. And after you generate enough savings, these programs will often give you the opportunity to use that savings to open up a secured card, which will help you establish more revolving credit history. Now, you can also consider applying for a department store card, but remember that these cards often have the highest interest rates. So the best practice would be to use it, keeping the balance low, and then pay it off so it does not negatively affect your credit score, and so you do not accumulate a large amount of interest. And also remember, never charge more than you can afford to repay. Another great option to establish credit is to have a cosigner. Remember, however, that if you miss a payment, you are not only hurting your credit score, but your cosigners as well. However, if you do know somebody who you trust and is responsible with their credit, a great option is to ask that person to add you as an authorized user to one of their credit cards that has a high limit a low balance, and a lengthy on-time payment history. They do not even have to give you access to the credit card, so it will not hurt them at all. All that will do is apply all of the good credit history on that card to your credit history as well. And I've actually had very young clients with good credit histories that are older than they are because a parent had added them as an authorized user on their credit card. So when you do obtain credit, there are some definite rules to keep in mind for what not to do. Do not take out more credit than you can repay. This is where your spending plan really helps to determine what you can afford to repay each month. Do not use credit to pay for routine living expenses. So this is where a lot of people get into trouble because they often use credit cards to pay for things like groceries and utilities, but then they cannot afford to pay it off when the bill is due and only end up making the minimum payment. That leaves the remaining balance to accumulate high interest. Each month the balance remains, it's going to accumulate more and more interest, and you will end up paying for more than the original purchase as the balance keeps on growing. The higher the balance on our credit card, the more interest you will be paying, and you may find yourself getting to the point where a minimum payment is all you can afford, but you're only really paying the interest and never actually lowering your balance. And most importantly, what you should never do is miss a payment. Remember, even one late payment can negatively affect your credit score. So to wrap up everything we just discussed, remember, establish goals, get organized, and stay organized. Create your spending plan and stick to it. Make adjustments as necessary. Seek out professional advice. Take advantage of nonprofit organizations that are willing to help you for free, such as CCCSMD. I'm going to move forward one slide to our contact information, and then we'll get on to the Q&A portion. If you would like to learn more about CCCSMD, you can visit our website at cccsmd.org, or feel free to reach out to our counseling team by calling 1-800-642-2227. We are happy to offer budget and credit counseling, housing counseling, debt management plans, credit report reviews, and online financial education. And now I would like to offer a Q&A section.
Thank you so much. Really, that was, thank you so much. That was an amazing, very informative workshop. I think you did do that topic justice. I'm over here thinking about, I need a spending plan. You know, you mentioned something that was very important. Sometimes we're not late or we don't pay our bills because we don't have the funds. It's actually tracking and also making sure that we do our part to create a spending plan. So I'm just thinking about a lot of our students who have never done that. What would you recommend? I know you showed a spreadsheet. What would you recommend on how they can start budgeting and really tracking their money, no matter how small it is or how big?
Well, for me, the biggest thing was just creating that chart, and that really helped me get in line with when bills are due, how much money I have available to go to everything each month. I actually did find an app to put on my phone. I believe it was called Timely Bills. That works really well too, because it sends me a notification anytime I have a bill that's coming due. However, it's a lot of work to put everything into the app on your phone. And if you're older like me, you aren't used to doing that as much. So the pen and paper works really well if you can't do it right on your phone. And if you have that chart, just put it in a place where you can see it. I mean, you certainly don't want it in a room where everybody can see your expenses, but
No.
a good place where only you can see it and you are reminded every single day of what your spending plan should look like, how much money. It kind of gives you the encouragement to not buy that on a whim Amazon purchase.
Yes, thank you so much. That's actually very true. And for some of our students who have children, I think that advice is actually super awesome because while they're filling out the spending plan, you can also bring your kids to, mommy spending this on that and this on that, and, get them involved in the financial literacy process. And it also helps to raise another generation of children who are financially aware, but now they know where to get the information. I know you shared about the contact. Please, students, make sure you reach out. This is an amazing organization. They're in Maryland, Delaware, and they are open. They want to get your phone calls. You can schedule appointments. And one thing I really love is that they cover a lot of financial conversations, from debt management, even with the student loan. I know we're seeing it all over the news, but it is great to know that CCCSMD is available to guide you and to give you clarity about it. You don't have to be alone, okay? I know the pandemic, we're all locked down and people are starting to get out, but you can reach out to get help. And that's one amazing reason I love Bowie State, is that we bring awesome organizations like Christina's organization, and we're getting to hear all of this. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much for having me today. And I do hope that I was able to provide information that will help everybody now and into the future. Thank you.
You did. Students, that's it. This workshop is complete. But remember, if you haven't done the other workshop, Money Basics, turning your skills into millions, and also the workshop of financial freedom for life. If you haven't taken them, you need to click on and go take them. But by doing the survey, you help all of us understand what you have learned, but also some major feedback. And if you have questions for Christina, you can always put it in the survey comment section, and that would really help us direct the question to the right people. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you for listening. Remember, financial literacy is not just for school, but also for life. Have a great day, students, and everyone watching. Thank you.